Conversations with Elders, hosted by yours truly, Louis-Virie Blanche, welcoming you where we will be talking in tongues with the elders of all ages, all generations, all races, cultures, and creeds. All gender, religious, or political preferences will be honored and encouraged. Conversations with Elders, where it is our treasured pleasure to roll out the red carpet of golden liquid love light to you in honor of the Queendom Come, soul dancing free to life's heartbeat drum in honor of mother, daughter, sister, lover, priestess, goddess, friend, sharing the blessings of love's perfect stranger. Deja vu.
It's too cosmic, much too cosmic for me. Much too cosmic.
So I say aloha, hola, aho, hello. Welcome to Conversations with Elders, where we roll out the red carpet of golden liquid love light in honor of grandmother, mother, daughter, sister, lover, warrior, priestess, goddess, and friend. And we have a beautiful friend with us today, the beloved Sam Watson. We are both father-in-laws, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, man. You know, I want to thank you. Gabe is blessed to have a family such as you guys there with him and on his side.
Oh man, we're blessed to have him.
Well, it's a wonderful thing when the blessings are mutual, right?
Yes, yes.
Well, I want you
And
to lay some foundation down for me because I have a little bit of information, but you're going to have to fill in the blanks.
Okay.
My understanding is you were born in Georgia.
Yeah, Homerville, Georgia.
Where is that located?
Just on the right near it's at the edge of Georgia. If you're driving there off about at 10 or something,
Mm-hmm.
if you're driving there from here, once you hit Georgia base, it starts out on US 1. And then it goes on down and hit man, I'm forgetting stuff.
So you're like on the eastern border of Georgia.
Yes.
So how
Yes.
far would you be from places like Macon and Atlanta?
Atlanta ain't that really that far. Atlanta. I got to go back and look at it, man. I'm not. My mind ain't as fast as it used to be.
Well, we can go at your own pace. Just, you know, you're in the comfort zone, so no worries at all.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a musician. I'm a writer and I'm a musician. And, you know, Georgia has been the home of a lot of wonderful musicians. And I'm wondering, like, when you were born, you were born in Georgia, but you moved to Tampa?
Yeah, I was raised in Georgia too.
How long were you in Georgia?
I left there. Well, my mom left my dad when I was about 10. But I've been going backwards and forth after that. We used to come back in the summertime after school was out.
Mm-hmm.
She'd send me back up here to be with my dad. Then I'm back down in Tampa. And I'm back up here to Georgia. I was backwards and forth, man, when I was growing up.
So did your mom moved you guys to Tampa?
Yeah, Tampa, Florida. That's where her family is. That's where most of my family's at.
Yeah, right now as we speak.
Yes.
Yeah, my partner's son lives in Tampa.
Ah,
And you know, Tampa's been blessed. There's a lot of activity. As you know, in Florida, there's always some kind of weather to look out for.
I know. I got the word from my brother already.
Yeah, you know, they say Tampa has I think they call it the highest potential of surge in the
Yep.
US.
Yep.
Now, when you were growing up, was that a part of your life dealing with the hurricanes and things going on?
Yep. Yep. But it wasn't no big deal for us, man. We used to play, man. It's still in the, we didn't realize the depth. We didn't realize it was dangerous. We were
Yeah.
too young to know, man. We thought it was all fun for us. It
Well,
was
it
all
sounds
fun.
kind of like the people in New Orleans. My father's side of the family is from New Orleans.
Oh,
And when they give a storm warning, a hurricane's coming, a lot of people go down to Bourbon Street and they drink this drink called a hurricane. You ever,
ah.
you ever hear that drink?
I heard of the hurricane, but I ain't never had any.
It's in a very tall glass. I mean, it's in a glass about 18-inch tall glass, and it happens to be shaped like a woman's body.
Oh,
But
hey.
but they put Ozo, they put 151 rum and a whole bunch of other things in it. I mean, it is quite a concoction. And they have a deal. If you can drink one,
Oh,
they'll give you another one for free.
I never passed that. Well, I
Well,
was see in the military. You can drink, but you can't get intoxicated. Uh, you had to show your control over it,
right.
and that was my thing. I never had over one or two quick swigs, and that was it for me, because I couldn't afford to get drunk, and that's how I learned to drink. And when I was in the Navy, I did 30 years in the Navy, man.
Well, you know, my father did 30 years in the Army. When did you go in the Navy?
1918. Yeah.
What year did you go in?
Uh, back up, back up. It was 1942.
During World War II, right?
Yeah, 1942. I went in. Uh, well, I went. That's when I got there, but I signed in for 1940.
So you, how old were you when you went into the Navy?
I was 22 years old.
22?
1942. No, uh, my birthday is November the 4th.
Well, my birthday is November 2nd, so we're both Scorpios.
Oh man, we got a lot in common there.
So listen, my father's story was my father was 6'6",
Yeah.
and he was born in 1927. My mother was born in 1920, so she was 7 years older than him. But my father told me that because he was 6'6", when he was growing up, they called him Treetop. He was a very tall man. So all of his friends were tall and generally older than his age group.
When was he born?
He was born in Macomb, Mississippi, and he moved to New Orleans.
Ah,
Now, the deal was he forged my grandfather's name to get in the Army early. He was 15 when he joined the Army.
yeah, they used to try that back in there. Well, see, I went in 19.
You
I
said
went
you
in.
signed up in 1940, but you were in active duty in 1943 or 42?
I went active duty 1941
Oh,
because they
41.
sent me to. I started out as it's the see, it's in the Navy, and the first of it is really you don't get involved in being in the Navy. You get something like a process, and you spend maybe two, probably 2 years getting processed. before they get you completely into the Navy. And then they start training you.
Well, why did you choose the Navy?
Well, my mom, man, she couldn't afford to send me to college. So she said, hey, go in the military, go in the Navy, because the Navy don't go out and go to war. You know, we go to war, but not the kind of war that street soldiers to go on,
Right, right.
you know. So I never got to kill anybody. And that was one of the things that my mom didn't want me to do, didn't want me to have to kill anybody. My mom was a Christian, man. We grew up in the church.
Yes,
So I couldn't go out doing certain things as a kid. I
yes.
didn't get to do what my buddies did, you know. Sometimes I sneaked it in. And I think my mama knew every time I did it.
Yeah, mothers have a way of knowing that kind of stuff.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it, man. But my mom, man, was my best friend.
That's sweet, man.
Yeah,
Mine
she was my
too.
best
Mine too. I
friend,
have to
man.
say, my mother was, she's so special. It's hard to
Tell me about it. You
it's
can't
just
replace them, man.
you can't at all. You can't at all.
Yeah.
And the things, the gifts they give us as we're growing up,
Oh,
the
ooh,
older we get, I guess hopefully the more wisdom we gain, but we really understand that what these women in our lives were really providing us with the foundation of our lives from birth to beyond death.
you know, that's the way I pick my women. If they're gonna be like my mom or close to it, or any kind of similar, I look for that in them.
Yeah.
Cause
Well,
my mom,
my father,
church,
as I said, he was 7 years younger than my mother. And he never talked to me about his mother because my grandfather and my father, they were kind of bachelors together because my great aunt told me she wouldn't talk about it in front of my father, but my father never really knew his mother. So I don't know if she passed giving birth or if I don't know what really happened. But she was kind of like a mystery. But I believe that my mother, being 7 years older than my father, he found someone that had maturity, who was very loving and caring and nurturing. And so she mothered him.
well, my dad and my mom didn't stay together too long. My dad was a alcoholic drinker. He used to get drunk, come in and beat my mom.
Oh,
And
bless you, bro. Bless you.
man, when she left him, he cried like a baby. She never went back though. I was raised over in Homerville, Georgia. You know where that's at?
I have an idea, yeah. A little,
Yeah,
I probably have driven through that area.
yeah. If you come through there, it's on the edge. Once you get to Homerville, after you get out of that, you getting out of Georgia, and you run it up. Yeah.
Well, I want to share something with you because my mother and my mother's parents separated.
Uh,
My grandfather on my mother's side was he lived most of his life in Cumberland County near Fort Bragg, North Carolina, which is where I was born.
uh,
But my mother's parents divorced, and they had two boys and two girls. So when my mother's parents divorced, they each took one boy and one girl. My mother went with my grandfather, and my aunt and uncle went with my grandmother. Now, my mother got very lucky in that well, I'll go back a little bit. When her parents separated, my grandfather remarried. But the woman he remarried was very jealous of my mother because she looked a lot like my grandfather's first wife. And my grandfather, he couldn't read or write. He signed his name with an X. But he was a farmer. He raised everything we ate at my grandfather's house, the chickens, the cows, the pigs, the ice cream, the wine, everything was homemade. He was a very brilliant man. You know, I'm sure right there now today, there are people with master's degrees that couldn't grow a potato to save their lives. You know what I mean? They couldn't build. My grandfather was very much like a Renaissance man. But my mother got lucky because she married my father, who was in the military, and there was an income. He was always learning things. He was a very avid, active-minded person. But my aunt that went with my grandmother, she married a man that was a sharecropper. Whenever we went to visit them, their houses would be on cinder blocks in the middle of a tobacco field, in the middle of a cotton field, maybe a cornfield. And my dad bought a new Buick. Every 2 years, my dad bought a new car. He loved Buicks. So we'd drive into like Durham, North Carolina, and this town called Roland, and we'd visit my cousins. Now, the way my cousins were living, they never wore any shoes. They were living on a farm. You know about that? Well, I would show up. I have my little suit on and my pants and socks and everything. I was all dressed up. And my cousin told me recently, she said, Louis, when you came to visit us, it was like you were from another planet. But my mother was raised in the country, and she made sure that I had always had shoes on my feet. And she did it so well that in the summer, both my parents worked. I'm an only child, so I had a lot of time alone. But the other kids could run barefoot and run anywhere they wanted barefoot. But my feet were so tender, I couldn't hang with them. But when
I'm gonna tell you, that's the way Georgia was now. You didn't wear shoes or anything in Georgia, mainly because we couldn't afford them,
That's right.
you know. And I was born barefooted in Georgia, Homeville, Georgia, man, right up the road from here.
Well, I visit my cousins, and their father was a sharecropper. And you said your father was an alcoholic.
Yes, but
Well,
he could grow stuff.
but he was a farmer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
In his backyard, man, he grew most of his food.
right.
He had pigs, you know,
Yep.
chickens.
People were
He,
very self-sufficient, weren't they?
yeah, man, yeah. Oh man, and talk about cook. Now, his new wife, see him and my mom separated.
Mm-hmm.
She left him when I was about 2 years old, you know, and she didn't want no parts of him. He used to beat her, man. And it lasted for a long time until I got to the age where if he came up there to beat her, he had to come through me. And I was about 11 or 12 years old then. And that was the only thing that stopped him. But I tell you what, my mom left him. That joker quit drinking, and he didn't drink another drink after she left, trying to get her to come back. He not only quit drinking, he went to church because my mom was a church-going woman every Sunday.
Mm.
He went to church, and he still stayed. He became one of the elders of that church.
One of the deacons.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's something like a deacon, you know.
Yeah.
I was an elder at our church here, you know. They still call me elder. I
Yes,
haven't
indeed.
once I got sick, I stayed out of church a while and I haven't got back in there yet. but we all still communicate.
Yeah.
We all still church members. As a matter of fact, the pastor and I, oh man, we friends. We might have lunch together every weekend. You know, we get
Beautiful.
together and well, life is good, man.
Yes.
Life
Check
is
this
good.
out. My uncle had a drinking problem. He was a sharecropper. My cousins and my aunt had they basically all slept in one room. They had a wood burning stove. So my dad was a military guy, you know, he was a paratrooper when he first went in the army, he was in the Buffalo Soldiers. He was a cavalry unit guy.
Oh wow.
And then he was in the Triple Nickels, which was an all black paratrooping outfit.
Ooh,
And then he was in the 82nd Airborne and the 101st Airborne. So when we would come down there into the country in North Carolina in our new Buick, and I'm dressed in a suit with shoes, and my cousin's life was completely different. But my aunt had to do something that really shocked me later on in life because her husband would drink and beat her also. But she had one daughter and three sons. And the same thing happened in their life because he would come home drinking and beat her. But when the boys got old enough, that stopped. But the reason it stopped was my aunt sent my cousins to live with a neighbor because she didn't want the boys fighting her husband. Because it was going to be a fight. If he was going to come in there and drinking and beat on her, the boys were going to be beating on him. So to stop that from happening, she sent them to live with a neighbor. And you know, she tolerated that for probably over 15 years. But one night he came home and he was about to beat her and she shot him. And everybody in the
good mama.
neighborhood said, "What took you so long?"
Yes.
The
Yes.
police didn't say a word. That was like everyone knew what he had been doing, and there was no shock or problem at all. The fact that he really deserved it and he'd earned that very well. But for me, it was, you know, I was I mean, it put a different my cousins were already living different lives from me. But as you can imagine, if your mother had shot your father, that's quite a legacy, you know. It's something that you have to somehow process that. Like, I don't know what your belief system, do you believe that the things that happen in our lives are destined? Do we have a journey that we're on? I mean, why would a woman
Yeah.
find a man and have to, you know, a lot of women have issues with sticking with the man that's not good for them, but never quite getting away from them.
When were you born?
I was born in Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
When?
In the, what was the name of the hospital? I was born on the military base. I can't remember the name of the hospital right now.
Oh, yeah. They
Outside of
wasn't.
Fayetteville.
Oh, yeah. I was born in 1942 in Homerville, Georgia.
Yes,
And
indeed. Well, you know, well, as I said earlier, there was a lot. I believe Ray Charles was born in Georgia. Do you know if that's true?
yeah, he used to show up in a lot of. We had a place, a street, right up in our town. I can't even take the name of it, but you could go out. They'd be out there drinking every night, and they had a little club there. Man, all of the singers used to show up there, man. James Brown wasn't even born yet. But back then,
The Georgia boy.
yeah,
He's
back
born in
then,
Georgia.
man, we had them. They come through. Oh man, through Tampa, all of the big time players. But I remember back guys like wow, I can't remember no more, man. I gotta think on it a while. This what happens when you get old, man.
I feel you, man. Well,
I was born in
you
I
know
was
what the
born in 1940.
you know what the Chitlin circuit is, right?
Oh yeah,
All those
yeah.
cats were playing the Chitlin circuit, the honky tonks.
Oh man. Oh
Now, did
yeah.
you ever go down near that club and kind of listen in?
Yeah. Man, they used to cut up that in Homerville, man. Oh man. And they had their own dance. They had their own dance. And I was young as a boy growing up there, man.
What
And I,
dances do you remember people doing?
oh man. A dance called the slop.
The slop?
Yeah.
I never heard of it. Show us
It
how it
had
goes.
it had one like the uh uh I don't know why they called it the slop. It was something like the wow, I can't remember his name now.
The shuffle?
It was something like the shuffle, but because you move your feet similar, but it was different. Uh,
So was it during the time of blues or R&B, boogie woogie?
it was during the time what was that dance that you call, man, wow, I can't even remember the name of the dances,
I probably
but it was
saw those.
somewhere.
The dances I remember was well, the big dance when I was growing up was the twist, but people did the pony, they did the mashed
See,
potatoes.
the twist came on way after.
Way after. I know
Yeah,
that's
see,
20 years after what you're talking
when
about.
were you born?
I was born in 1951.
I was born in 1942.
So that slop was one of the dances you remember.
It was after that. I was about, oh yeah, I was about 14, 12, 13, 14 years old around there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they had it was
How
something
about the
called,
fly? You ever hear a dance called the fly or the
yeah, yeah,
chicken?
yeah, yeah. Uh, but what was that word? Man, I can't even remember nothing no more. You know, uh, uh, right now, and by the way, I'm 83 now.
That's a blessing, my
So
brother. That's a blessing.
tell me about it. Tell me about it. I'm not complaining. And not only that, man, I can get up and walk and dance.
Oh,
Uh,
yes, yes.
uh,
I had a friend here just the other day, and we live across the street from Oak Ridge, across the lake, Oak Ridge,
oh yeah, I know where that's at.
one of the secret cities, where they built the Manhattan Project. They built the bomb here.
Hmm.
And I took my friend over to the museum because they bought this land in Tennessee and they built a secret city. And that's where they were creating uranium and plutonium to build the A-bomb.
Ah,
But there were some people over there, 70 years old. There was one guy that was 70, another guy that was 72 years old, and they had a hard time walking. So you are blessed at 83 being able to walk and dance and move the way that you're talking. That's a real blessing, man.
right now, I do a lot of walking. I go out and walk in my house. I got a big driveway, and it comes all the way around. I'm right on the corner,
Mm-hmm.
so I got a big walkway, man. It's about it's about 4 feet wide right here.
Yeah.
But it wraps around, across in front of the house and go all the way down the side, all the sideway. That's my walking path. And I
Well,
walk that.
when you say the word walking, you know what I'm thinking about? You know what cakewalking into town means? Feeling so good I can cakewalk into town. That's a song by a friend of mine named Taj Mahal.
Oh yeah, now see.
But the other one is this: I'm walking. Yes, indeed, I'm talking. Fats Domino.
Yeah, yeah. What do
Yeah,
you know
walking,
about
man.
Fats Domino? Nah.
Then walking the dog.
Yeah, man. We had a dance walking the dog.
That's right.
See,
That's right.
oh man. Oh,
Next, when we get together, you're gonna have to cut a rug with me, as they say.
amen.
Show me
I
how to
don't
do those dances.
I used to dance. I tell you what, man. It was a group of us. All the new dances like this that was a dance called the slip. You move your feet like you're slipping.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day, man, we turned that into a dance. And when we used to do it, it was about 16 of us. We used to turn the club, and when we get out there on the floor, everybody get off and watch us dance. And watch us dance, man. We put on a show, man. And I still can do the slip, and oh man. And a fast swing, dance.
So were you a sharp dresser when you were growing up?
Yeah.
Do you know anything
My
about
mama made sure
Stacey
I was
Adams
sharp
shoes
dresser.
and hats? You know about Stacey Adams?
Yes, I know about Stacey Adams. I wore 'em.
Well, my
Oh,
great
as a matter
uncle.
of fact, I got a pair in the closet in there. What you talking about right now?
That was styling, man. You were like the cream
Yeah,
of the crop.
Stacey Adams still around.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, I had a I wear caps,
Mm-hmm.
hats, and
Stingy brim.
that's how I met your son. Yeah, I wore a stingy brim when it was at I went to the getting up summit
Yeah, the summit meeting
in
where
Summit.
Sheba and Gabe met.
Yeah, that's how I met your son.
Yep.
We both was at Summit at the same time,
Yep.
and I used to talk to him, and he loved my hat, so I gave him one. Took
Sweet.
it off my head and gave it to him, man. But and man, he been like a son to me ever since we met in the Sunday, and that
Yes, indeed.
yeah, and we just took a note into each other, and that's how he met my daughter too,
Yes, indeed.
because me and him was, and
Yeah, that's beautiful.
uh, not only that, he knew my wife before he knew me. See, my daughter, uh, not my wife, but my daughter, Toshiba. He knew Toshiba before he knew me. She was at Summit Summit
Mm-hmm.
when he came through. Okay. When he came through, he met my daughter. And I came after my daughter went there. She went first, then I came. Me and the wife came after that. Because she called us and said, y'all need to come on through here, come through the summit. So me and my wife went through the summit, and that's how we met. That's where I met your son. And when he found out I was Toshiba's daddy, he became my best friend.
Sweet, sweet,
But
sweet.
that was a good thing because he really wanted to get with us. And
And you
ever
gave
since
the
then,
shirt off your
man,
back and and the hat off your head.
he did that. He loved my brims, man. And my
Yeah.
first one that I had on that he liked, I took it off and gave it to him. you know.
That's
But
beautiful.
up until then, and not only that, I don't know. I'm just and being they call me preacher because I used to preach,
Mm-hmm.
but because I'm a old church going guy, that's what they call me there, preacher,
Mm-hmm.
because I was a Christian, you know, and I let them know it because they couldn't cuss and all that, around me. And
Right.
so that's how that's. So I sort of when they wanted to have a speaker, somebody to represent them, every finger went at me. Okay, now Gabe had already come through. He was already over there. I don't know what he was doing when I come through, but he wasn't working no more. What he was doing was chasing after my daughter. That's why he met at.
He must have run pretty fast. He ran fast
Oh
enough.
yeah. Oh, he caught her. Yeah, he caught her. Uh, as a matter of fact, when he found out that was my daughter, he became my best friend.
That sealed the deal.
It did. It did. Oh man, me and him been just like that through the summit. Cause my daughter went to summit before me and he did. She
Yes.
was first, and she called me back. See, we lived had my home over here in Tampa, Florida, and I still got a house over there too. Anyway, that's where I was raised at. After I left Georgia, my
Mm.
mom left my drinking daddy. She left him and came to Florida where her family was, her mom, sisters and brothers, and it was 16 of them,
Wow.
4 girls and the rest of them boys.
Wow.
That was my grandmama.
That was a busy
My
grandmother.
grandmama had that. I'm telling you, that's where it was back then. Now there was a bunch of them.
Now, how early was
And
she had started having children? You remember?
my mom,
My grandmother, I think, had the first child when she was 16.
uh, my grandmama was 14, 13 or 14, because she
Yep.
wrote her, she, what's that game?
Back in those days, they started having children really young.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. But them were good days. Uh, People had a different outlook, especially black folks. We had our own neighborhood, see,
Mm-hmm.
and the white boys didn't come down there start nothing. They'll run through there real fast, shooting, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and we get a few of them too to stop. We catch a few of them too, but we had to set up gates to our community.
Yes.
For them to get in here, they had to come through that gate. And we had a watcher on the gate at all times. When one of them slipped through, the word goes up, just like that. And by the time he get halfway, he's sorry he came. Because a bunch of people done surround him, and the brothers didn't play.
Yeah, my dad's town, the town Macomb, Mississippi, they had a part of town called the Bottom.
Oh man, where about in Mississippi?
Macomb, Mississippi, about an hour from New Orleans.
I
But the
probably
bottom was
written.
the bottom was where the people of color lived.
I know.
Now there was
See,
a
all of
lady,
that.
there was a lady in Macomb, Mississippi. Her name was oh man, I'm forgetting her name. She was a Choctaw Indian lady,
Hmm.
and the name means chief. That's amazing. I'm forgetting it right now. We're both having a senior moment.
Uh,
What
no.
was that lady's name? That lady knew my grandfather. She grew up with my grandfather. They were young together.
Oh, wow.
And but her family owned the mortuary, they owned the grocery store,
Oh, yeah.
they owned just about everything that was anything in Macomb, Mississippi.
We had one over there in Homerville, Georgia. Owned everything. He owned even the funeral home.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. Fluker. God, last name was Fluker. And his family, because there's a lot of them. Right up here in Homerville, Georgia. That's where I was raised at, you know. And it wasn't that
I
bad.
can't think of that lady's name, man. I mean, when I was a little boy, we would go there, and I remember like we go to the grocery store. There was penny candy. Candy, you get a piece of candy for a penny. And I would buy those fireballs, those hot red fireballs.
How old are you?
I was probably like 5, 6, 7 years old because I was born in 51, but we would always go and visit my grandfather in Mississippi and then my other grandparents in North Carolina.
Ah,
And
ah. I was born in 42.
well, the candy back then, my father told me, you know what a silver bell is?
Yeah,
What do they call it now? The Hershey's Kiss, right?
yeah.
My dad said the Hershey's Kiss was first called the Silver Bell because it's wrapped in silver. It looks like a bell, right?
That's right. Yeah.
But I have memories of my father had a thing where he took me to 5-star hotels, but he'd also take me across the tracks. We'd go down in the bottom. We'd go to the honky tonks and the little
Oh,
club.
yeah, the bottom, man. I know all about the bottom.
But he wanted me to see
Uh,
both sides of the
when I
tracks,
was real young, when I was about 10 or 12. Yeah.
Yeah. But the people that came out of that time had a very, as you said earlier, had a very different outlook on life.
Man.
Now, what is your feeling like? I ask people when I do these conversations with elders, I ask people what their trinity of inspiration is. And when I say trinity of inspiration, what I mean is I ask people like you've been on this road on living your life, and I ask people, what are the 3 most important things that you've learned in this life that if you were going to sit with your loved ones and share the 3 most important things you've learned in life, what would those 3 things be?
Well, the first thing is to learn how to love.
Beautiful.
Have love in your heart,
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
And second, learn how to speak properly. Learn how to speak to somebody that will know what you're saying and understand you.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my mom teaching. Now she was a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, words that mean something. Every word have a meaning,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what you use it for. Uh,
Well, what my father had me do when I was growing up? I don't know why he started this, but I had to pick a word out of the dictionary. In the summertime, I had to pick a word out of the dictionary every day. When he came home from work, I had to tell him what the word was.
oh, wow.
And I had to use it and I had to understand what it meant. Now, sometimes we had a big dictionary. I mean, I'd open it and I'd sometimes just pick without looking. But words, like I'm a writer and words, words are powerful.
Let me tell you. tell me about it. Tell me about it. How old was you when you learned that?
Man, we were living in Fort Jackson, South Carolina, so I was probably 5, 6, and 7 years old. I was really young. And this makes me think of something. Did you play a lot of
I was
cards
about
in your life? Did you play bid whist and pinochle? Did you play card games? Did you play cards?
Of course, man. Bid whist.
Bid whist, that's
Bid
right.
whist, yes.
How about pinochle?
Yeah, man. Pinochle, yes.
Check this out, man. I was living
Yes.
in Fort Jackson and there were 2 little boys across the street. And they were Caucasian boys. They had flat top haircuts, wore big, thick glasses. They always wore white shirts with a pin protector. And they looked just like their father. They looked like little engineers, right? Little scientists. You know how most kids would play war and go fish, games like that?
Yeah.
Well, these 2 guys taught me how to play pinochle. So when my parents had card games, they played bid whist and pinochle. And I could play. I was a kid growing up at 8, 9, 10 years old. I could play with the adults.
Same here.
But
As a matter of fact, uh, in bid whist, they used to call the wild card Boodle. And they named me after the Boodle. That was my nickname, Boodle.
Boodle?
Yeah. I don't know
You're the
how
wild card.
I don't know how they did that, but that was my nickname, Boodle. Hey, get Boodle in here.
Get
Because I
Boodle in
used to be
here.
there to watch them play all the time,
Yeah.
So,
Well, you
the
know, that's
wild
one of my
card.
greatest memories that my parents would have, like being in the military. My parents had friends from all kinds of cultures came to the house every weekend. And
Well,
it would be like a potluck. Sometimes my mother would fix all the food, but people would bring food. So there were Korean people there and Spanish people and just people from all these cultures were hanging out at my parents' house, and they were listening to Sam Cooke and Ray Charles and Fats Domino. And my dad, he loved jazz. Like he'd
ooh,
listen to Lester Young and he'd listen to Coltrane. And my mother loved like Sam Cooke and the popular singers. But for me as a little boy, I just remember hearing that music and just the vibe of all those people having a good time, like good food, good music, and good people. Were like, it was a combination of things that just, one of the reasons I love my parents for giving me that experience in life. But as I said, he'd take me down to the bottom also. He'd show me the Chitlin circuit. He'd take me down. He used to take me sometimes to the moonshine place. And one day we were in the store I was in the store with my mother, and I said, "Look, Mama, there's a lady that runs the moonshine shack." And my mother when we got home, she told my dad, "I told you not to take him down there." But
well,
but the music, man, you remember those big jars of pickled pig's feet?
oh yeah,
I
oh
remember those
yeah.
jars sitting on the bar, and then they'd have a big jar of eggs. And I love boiled peanuts, man. I really love boiled peanuts.
Oh man, yeah. Been there to that.
And back then, that you'd be driving down the highway, they'd sell them in little brown paper bags.
Well, driving down the highway is a bad experience for black folks back in that time.
Oh, yeah,
You had nowhere you can park.
that's right.
If
No
you had to go to the
restaurants you
bathroom,
could
we had to
walk into.
park off and run off into the bushes.
Right.
Yeah. If they wouldn't let you in the bathroom,
Uh-uh.
we had to stop on the highway, run into the bushes, learn to how to wipe your butt with a leaf.
Right.
Uh, that's where I was raised, man.
Yeah, my parents told me a story. They were driving. My dad, he had a new, bought a new Buick every 2 years, and he was in the military. But when they were driving through the South, they just couldn't stop anywhere.
That's right.
And they had my milk in the car, and it spoiled.
Mm.
And my mother and dad told me a story about how they had to go to a place and ask if they would give some milk for me to drink. And that took a lot of bravery on their part to even go up to the door to ask.
That's right.
But they got lucky. The people that they knocked on the door, they were kind-hearted people, and they gave them milk for me to drink as a baby.
Oh, wow.
But
Oh, wow.
I was blessed. I was kind of raised. I didn't know that experience on a firsthand basis. Even though during that time, people like Emmett Till, you know what happened with Emmett Till.
That hadn't happened to him yet when I was born. It happened after I was born.
That's right.
I know about, I found out, been to the movie. I saw the movie, and all that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, the thing I was really struck, you know who Harry Belafonte is?
yeah.
Well, Harry Belafonte has a story. And he lived to be 90 some years old. I think he just passed on maybe 2 years ago or so. But Harry Belafonte was an activist. He was, in the 50s, he was an actor in movies, and he had a white girlfriend in that movie, in one of his first movies. He was breaking barriers as a very young man.
I saw the movie.
And one of the things I remember, my dad had always had Buicks, and he had I was in a 50-some Buick, because back then there were no seat belts, and the dashboard was all metal. But I remember standing up in the back seat of my dad's Buick, and I heard this voice come across the radio, and it was Harry Belafonte, and it just struck me. It talked to my soul. It touched my heart, and I never forgot that. Now, later on in life, I started going to Jamaica, because Harry Belafonte is from Jamaica. But one of the things he said that I remembered very distinctly was he was in movies. He had Deo, all those songs. He was a multi-selling artist. He was an actor. And Martin Luther King called him up one day and said, "I need your help." And Harry said, "Well, what do you need?" He says, "Well, we're getting ready to organize this march in Selma, Alabama." And he said, "We need some finances to make it happen." But back then, a person of color could not go to a Western Union and have any money sent to them, because they wouldn't give it to you. If they gave it to you, you'd walk out on the street and someone would take it from you.
That's right. And
So
a lot of times, money that was sent to you didn't reach you.
That's right. It just got lost somewhere. Well, Harry Belafonte got this call from Martin Luther King, and he said, "I need you to help me. We need to get this money down to Alabama. Can you help me?" So Harry said, "Well, I'll do what I can." So Harry was very good friends with Sidney Poitier.
Yep.
And he called up Sidney Poitier and he said, "Man, what are you doing this weekend?" And Sidney said, "Well, I'm not doing anything." And he says, "Well," Harry says, "You want to go for a ride with me?" And Sidney Poitier said, "Yeah, okay, whatever you want, I'll do it. I'll be with you." So the deal was, they had a suitcase full of money. And these are two black men in a car driving down south with all this money.
Oh, man.
But they made it. They delivered the money to Martin Luther King, and they were able to organize that march, and it was very successful. But later on in life, just a few years before he passed, he was in his 90s, And he was asked, you know, you have been doing all these incredible things. You're like a real activist. You're a revolutionary. You know, you have been doing things to help your people all your life. And they asked him, what do you want to share from your life's journey? And he said, well, here's what I feel. He goes, the best is yet to come, but the worst is yet to be revealed. Meaning there's so
Yes.
many things that might have gone on that
Yes.
people don't talk about and may, like if people like you and I don't have these conversations and save these stories, there's a lot of people that may never know.
Well, I'm a storyteller.
That's what I heard.
And I used to keep the kids smiling. I used to talk to the younger kids in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
I was also at the pool. I was just a guard,
A
swimming
lifeguard?
guard. Yeah, lifeguard.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where most of the guys met me, next to the kids, you know.
So you learned to
And
swim when you were really young?
oh yeah, man. I'm gonna tell you how I learned how to swim. Me and my dad used to go fishing,
Yeah.
and we were fishing more, and we just fishing more, and it was something I had to go out in the water to get, and I was scared to go out there. I said, "Swim on out there and get that, boy." I said, "I don't swim, Dad." "You don't swim?" And he didn't say nothing else. And I was walking away, and he grabbed me in the back of the church, right out in the middle of that pool, man,
That was a quick
and
way to learn, huh?
stood there and stood there and watched me fight my way back.
Oh my
And when I
goodness.
got back almost dead, he picked me up and said, "Now I'm going to teach you how to swim."
Oh
And
my
he said, "You did real good there." And I'm about dead.
goodness.
But that's how I learned.
Well, you know, my dad
I
would,
learned quick when he threw me out there. I had to do something.
you learn the quick way. My dad would go fishing after work. If there was any place to go fishing, we went fishing. Now, on the weekends, we were always fishing,
Man.
catching brim and
Oh,
catfish.
man.
But you know what? My dad didn't learn to swim until he was 72 years old. Because we would go fishing. A lot of times we would stand on the side of the river or the lake and fish from the land, but we were also always in boats. We were always out in the middle of a lake or a river with a boat.
Mhm.
And my mom and my father could not swim. But after he retired, after 30 years in the Army, he took swimming lessons at 72 years old. And that kind of, he was
Well,
always into learning things, you know what I'm saying? He was always into learning, like bettering himself. But man, fishing was one of my favorite things to do with my dad, my family. That was one of the family outings that we had all the time. All the time.
fishing.
But you know what? I
I
need
used to go and
to,
watch my dad fish. And
yeah.
he catch fish. Man, he could catch a fish that wasn't supposed to be caught. He knew how to do it, man.
Yeah.
And he could feed his pole. He would put the put the put them on there different. And he said, "I'm gonna catch something good with this one." And he would put it in a certain way, throw it way out there, and
Using night
sit there.
crawlers? Was he using worms?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I use those. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Remember digging up night crawlers?
Yeah. I did that too. Hey. Oh man, we got a lot in common now, buddy.
We do, my brother. We do. We do. You know, we are approaching the 1 hour mark, and I like to keep the show right at an hour, okay?
Okay.
But this will
Okay.
be continued, okay? We'll set up another time. Maybe if we want to do like another talk next week, the same time next Thursday, just let Gabe know when you are available. I'll coordinate
Man.
my schedule. And you got to know, man, I love you more than I loved you before. I thank you for spending this time with me. And because one of the things growing up that I really loved about life was sitting with people and hearing stories. I can't tell you, my dad had so many stories and all his friends had stories. And there was an old couple, a Cherokee couple that lived next door to us in North Carolina. And they had a wood stove and they would cook everything on the wood stove. And the man would drink coffee with a saucer and a cup. But he would pour the coffee into the saucer to cool it off, and then he'd drink it out of the saucer. But I remember sitting with Mr. and Mrs. Evans. And that lady, I couldn't remember the name a while ago, Mrs. Mingo, was a lady in Macomb, Mississippi that had the grocery store, the funeral, the junk store. I mean, every store was theirs.
Ah.
But me as a little boy, I really loved sitting at the feet or sitting with the elders as they told their stories. So you have,
That's where I learned a lot.
oh yes, oh
That's
yes.
where I learned a lot. And not only that, I watched them play cards.
Oh yeah, I
They
did a
play
lot
bid
of
whist.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, my brother, to be continued.
And
Go ahead.
huh?
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
What did you ask me?
No, I want you to finish your thought.
Oh, my dad, when they were playing bid whist and all that, they used to call the wild card the boogle, the boogle.
Bully? Bully.
And they named me after that, the bully. That was my nickname. Because I used to come up there and watch them play bid whist all the time. See who gonna get the bully.
Yes, indeed. Well,
Anyway, hey
bless
man,
you,
I
my
enjoyed
brother.
this.
You are a wild card still. Yeah, mutually, man. I enjoyed it beyond words, man. I can't tell you. It's very special. Thank you for taking the time and sharing.
Oh man, thank you.
Shake
Well, I
hands on that
forgot
one.
I forgot we
five.
ain't together. That we on picture. Yeah, man.
All right, my brother.
Hey, you take care.
I love you, and we'll be in touch. All right.
Oh yeah, man. We definitely will be in touch.
Well, that's it for Here and Now. But until we meet again, this has been Louis-Virie Blanche thanking you for listening to Conversations with Elders. Bless you.
Quantum physics and the kitchen sink, the energy that follows the thoughts you think. Quantum physics and the cosmic sea, laws of nature too heavy for me. It's too cosmic, much too cosmic for me. Much too cosmic, much too cosmic